Hey guys, this is Alex. Welcome to your 11th programming tutorial. In this tutorial I'm going to be teaching you basically a little bit about while loops. They're very easy to understand in concept. However, sometimes you might get a little bit confused about what to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it down for you and tell you what you need to do and how to do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a integer variable that we're going to call num Poptarts, and we're going to set it equal to 10, not 19, 10. So we have 10 Pop-Tarts, and we're going to go ahead and eat all of them. So what we want to do is we're going to do system.out.println eats a Pop-Tart, and then how about eats Pop-Tart number 1, and then int, actually you don't need to redefine it, so we're just going to do num Pop-Tarts minus minus. If I didn't tell you before, minus minus basically says takes the number of Pop-Tarts there are, or takes the variable and subtracts 1 from it. So that's just basically what that does. So that's going to subtract it, and then we're going to do system.out.println eats Pop-Tart number 2, and then num Pop-Tarts minus minus. You can see how tedious this gets. Like, you go through it and you're sitting here going, okay, so we're going to sit here and write all of this out over and over and over again. It's computer programming. They had to have done something to make it a little bit easier to do, somewhere to where it does it automatically. Well, that's where looping comes in. When you use a loop, you're basically going through a set of operations a certain amount of times until a certain action occurs, or just infinitely. So how can we apply this to this situation? So what we do is we have num Pop-Tarts equals 10. Well, let's get rid of all this right here, and we're going to create a while loop. We're going to say while, and the way the while loop works is you put while, and then you have 2 parentheses, and then the basic structure of pretty much anything is going to be an open bracket and a closed bracket. So in here, this is where we define what's going to happen until what. What does it do? Or it does everything until what happens in the parameters, because this is where we're putting our parameters, is right here in our little in our parentheses. So we're going to say, well, num Pop-Tarts is greater than 0. So it's basically running a check. Every time it goes through, it's checking if the number of Pop-Tarts is greater than 0. In this situation, it's starting off with the number of Pop-Tarts is equal to 10. So you know that it's automatically going to run what's inside here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go system.out.println, because we're going to print something to the screen, and then I'm going to say eats Pop-Tart, eats Pop-Tart number, and then after it we're going to do plus, and we're going to do num Pop-Tarts. And what this is going to do is it's going to print out the number of Pop-Tarts that you eat, Pop-Tart number, whatever. And then afterwards we're going to do num Pop-Tarts minus minus, because that's going to subtract 1 afterwards. So whenever we run this, it's going to go through and it's going to say eats Pop-Tart number 1 through 10, and it's just going to keep printing them out until it reaches 1. Now, something very important to understand whenever you're working with greater than, equal to, less than, whatever. Whenever you're working with those things, you need to make sure they're right. If you wanted this to include Pop-Tart number 0, then you would have to probably say well, Pop-Tarts is not equal to 0. Actually, that still wouldn't work. Is greater than -1. and then whenever you run it, you see Eats Pop-Tart number 0. I believe I told you earlier, and I know I'm saying I believe I told you earlier. I mean, I haven't actually had a chance to go back and rewatch all of the videos because I wanted to jump in and start with you all. The reason it goes all the way to number 0, normally the way computers work is they work starting at 0, or they work starting at the number that you post. So in this situation, it's going to go greater than -1. Anything that's greater than -1, any integers, since integers only work as like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of method, they don't work with decimals or anything, the next one up would have been 0, because 0 is greater than -1. So as you can see, like I can rerun this program, and it still prints out 10. Another thing we can do, and actually I'm going to kind of do this as sort of an experimental thing, something that's just going to like pretty much pop out on a whim, is I'm going to show you something. In the while brackets, you can put a true in here, and what this is going to do is it's going to run all the time. There's going to be really no stopping point for it until I teach you like how to catch exceptions and whatnot, and that'll be way later. So what's going to happen is while this is continually running, something's going to happen. So let's just create an integer out here, and let's just call it num just because, and let's set num equal to 0. Oh, my bad. Let's set num equal to 0. So while true, num plus plus, and this is going to increase the number each time. So the number is going to increase each time, and then we're going to go system.out.println, and then we're just going to print the number. Now, you're probably sitting here saying, okay, Alex, this is going to print out forever. What's the point of this? Well, in a bunch of applications you have like running in the background or whatnot, they need to run constantly. They're constantly checking to see if something's performed. They're constantly checking to see if something's changed on the computer or whatnot. So there is a time where you would use a while true, and while this specifically wouldn't be one of those times, you'll find that you'll actually use some while trues. So if we run this, as you can see, this at the bottom is just going crazy. It just keeps going up. So you're like, whoa, that's going up really fast. What's going on? Well, computers work really, really fast. So while it's only been like probably not even 20 seconds that I started that, it reached over 2 million. It was able to count up to 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I was able to reach up to over 2 million in that like 20 seconds. So computers run really fast. So it's whenever you have a while true running, it's constantly checking, and that can be a good thing, and that can also kill you. You'll learn about like stack overflows later, and that's mainly dealt with like calling something inside of something too many times, which is called recursion. And I know I shouldn't be throwing out terms that you're not going to be learning right now, so just ignore that for now. So you basically learn the way a while loop works. Remember that there's really anything that you can do with there's anything that pretty much anything you can loop through, and you have to set relatively understandable like arguments or parameters for it to constantly for it to run until that happens. So it's something I want you to practice with, because you'll find that you'll actually be using them a lot. Those and for loops. And for loops is what I'm going to be teaching you in the next tutorial, and it's just basically going to be an add-on to what this is. So I will see you all in the next tutorial. Practice these because you'll use them. So have fun. Good luck. Don't forget to subscribe.